Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's my great pleasure in conjunction with Dr. Mason to present to you coping with stress during challenging times. Before we begin, a couple of housekeeping things and then a message from the director. First and foremost, in order for us to be successful, please make sure that you mute your line when you have an opportunity to engage in Q&A at the conclusion of our training. You may unmute your line and pose your question. Second, please go ahead and mute your cameras. We will have an opportunity for everybody to show their smiling faces at the conclusion of this, and hopefully you'll be sitting there a little less stressed and excited about the information and resources that we're about to share with you. So without further ado, before we begin and dive into the actual curriculum, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Director Palmer for opening words. Director?
Well, thank you, Dr. Karenko, and also thank you, Dr. Mason, for the work you have done on this, because this is an extremely important tool I think you're going to share with us today, or set of tools, to be honest with you. Many of us right now are dealing with all kinds of stress. This pandemic has gone on far longer than any of us anticipated. And along with that come extra responsibilities, just learning how to telework, how to work at home when you have children or you have aging parents that you need to be supporting, friends, and maybe even an isolation of sorts if you're not able to go out because you have underlying issues. So there are a lot of factors that go into people's mental health and physical health. I am very concerned about everyone's mental and physical health through all of this, because our jobs are very important. We are here to help others, and we cannot help others unless we are healthy ourselves. And so first you have to take care of yourself. And that's why I really, really do appreciate so much the work that Dr. Mason and Dr. Karenko have done on this. And I'm looking forward to this myself, because I know they're going to be looking at anxiety, post-traumatic stress. They're going to be looking at all kinds of things that we need to be paying attention to individually about ourselves, and ways that we can help each other as well. So thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that this is going to be helpful to you. And again, thank you, Dr. Mason and Dr. Karenko.
Thank you, Director. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and dive right into it. And Dr. Mason?
All right, well, we'll just get started. First of all, I want to say thank you very much. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. And I want to make sure that you know that this isn't meant to be therapy or anything like that. I hope that the concepts that we share with you today will have some meaning for your life. And I hope you can just relax and enjoy it. You don't have to try to remember anything or take notes, because everything that we're going to discuss today, there will be handouts to help you, as well as some instructions on the breathing techniques, so you don't have to remember how to do them. Just kind of take everything in and enjoy the presentation. So we'll start with chronic stress, which really is just chronic anxiety. And I'm not going to read this definition to you, but I'll give you a little background about it. So we really weren't meant to endure chronic stress. Stress in itself and anxiety can be adaptive. Certainly our ancestors had it, and it was adaptive for them. You hear the rustle in the bush, the tiger, the heart rate goes up, the breathing slows down, you get ready to run. And that was very adaptive for our ancestors. But we are not meant to endure that. So we have a lot of challenges today with fighting chronic stress. So those are some of the concepts that we're going to talk about today. And you may ask, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard about breathing techniques and things of that nature. Well, why does that help? Well, the simple fact is that when your body is relaxed, it's very difficult for your mind to be anxious. Anxiety very much involves your brain and your body, and it works the other way too. We can control our thoughts, we can distract ourselves, shift our focus of attention, and that in turn can help relax the body. So as you go throughout today, we're going to try to show you breathing techniques to help relax your body and thus relax your mind, and also some different things that can change your focus that you can incorporate into every day, and that will also help your mind become less anxious. So the first thing I want to do is show you a breathing technique. I call it a tummy breath. It's called diaphragmatic breathing, and many of you have probably already heard of this if you do yoga or different things like that. I think they focus a lot on breathing in exercise, karate. So it's simple. Sometimes it can take a little practice, but I'm going to give you a brief example today. I'm going to move my camera down just a little bit so you can see. So while you're sitting out there, the way I do it is I put one hand on my chest and one on my tummy, and I pretend that I have a balloon in my stomach. So what you want to do is take a nice deep breath through the nose and fill that balloon in your stomach, that imaginary balloon. And if you'll notice when I'm doing that, my hand on my tummy kind of tends to rise a little more than the hand on my chest. That's because I'm taking a full deep breath down into my stomach where my diaphragm is, all that. And that is exactly the opposite of anxious breathing. When we're anxious, we tend to breathe more shallowly from the chest. CO2s rise, and it cascades down. It makes us anxious, gets the heart rate going. So when you take that deep breath, you want to try to breathe in for, I usually do a count of 4 or 5. I hold it for just a second, and then you want to make sure you fully exhale. So let's try that together. You can breathe out through your mouth or your nose, and that is diaphragmatic breathing, okay? Now you can take that breath, and there's a lot of different breathing techniques that you can use with that. One in particular that I like a lot is called square breathing. Some people in the military even call it combat breathing. It really helps relax you. And it also engages your mind in a bit in that you can use counting with it or visualization. I tend to breathe in a square and I count for 4, then I hold my breath for 4, I exhale for 4, and then I hold my breath again. So I'm going to show you a video, and if you want to practice at home, please do that, or in the office, wherever you may be.
This next grounding activity is called square breathing. And square breathing can be helpful for a couple of reasons. One, because our breath is connected to both the part of our nervous system that we can control and the part of our nervous system that is automatic. So it helps us access that calming part of our brain kind of in through the back door. The other thing about square breathing is if you practice it with varying lengths of breaths, then you can practice putting yourself into a slightly anxiety-provoking situation, which is being out of breath. But you're doing it intentionally in such a way that something that would normally be anxiety-provoking or uncomfortable becomes something that you can handle with willingness. So you are basically converting something that might have been stressful into something that is very comfortable. And that trains your brain to believe that you have the ability to convert something that's stressful into something that's beneficial for you. So let me just explain square breathing really quickly. So with square breathing, you imagine yourself breathing along a square. So you imagine yourself starting at the top right corner of the square, and you imagine yourself breathing in for 4 seconds, And then you imagine yourself holding that breath for 4 seconds. And then you imagine yourself breathing out, so exhaling for 4 seconds. And then holding that air out for 4 seconds. And you're back to the top of the square. Then you repeat that 4 times. So breathe in, 2, 3, 4. So you're breathing in that whole time, holding it for 4 seconds, breathing out for 4 seconds. You're exhaling for 4 seconds. And then you're staying without breath for 4 more seconds. So just like that. When you exhale, you want to have all the breath out that you can have out. So you want to be completely out of breath. When you're done with your inhale, you want to be completely full of breath. And the other two are the process of getting in and out. Now you can lengthen the amount of time that you're doing these inhales and exhales and holding. So you can lengthen it out to 8 seconds or 10 seconds or 16 seconds. But when you lengthen the amount of time that you're out of breath, you're going to cause your brain to panic for a little bit. And that's where you can kind of challenge yourself to increase your comfort with being out of breath. So really there's 2 ways to do this activity. The first way is to just stay at 4 seconds. Breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. And that's just going to be kind of naturally calming because it's creating a rhythm. And the other way you can do this is to challenge yourself to lengthen the amount of time you're holding that breath. And that's going to be a little bit more of a mental challenge that creates more resilience. So as you do this activity, just watch yourself and pay attention to the emotions that come up. So paying attention to your breath is going to help you stay centered and grounded while various emotions go through you. I hope this video was helpful. Thanks for watching and take care.
All right. So I hope that was helpful to you. Some people ask or have asked me in the past, how often should I do this? I think, if you can start off at 10 minutes a day, doing it 5 minutes in the morning or in the evening, or just any time that you feel particularly anxious or stressed, if you're going through a deadline, you just need to take a break. I think to practice this can be so helpful to you. It's also helpful if you have difficulty sleeping at night. Just the counting and refocusing and focusing on your breath can be very helpful for those of us who have chattery brains at night and we have difficulty sleeping. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Karenko.
Thank you, Dr. Mason. So we've gone past what stress and anxiety is, and I think it's clear that we all have that feeling. We've had these feelings with regard to our reactions to all of the events that have occurred up to this point. It bears in repeating that we need to look not only at ourselves and how we are interacting with each other, but look outward and look at our nonverbal and verbal cues as far as how we communicate and how we perceive what's being communicated to us. We need to listen empathically. We need to make sure that we are really listening to what's truly being said. The other issue, and I believe I'm looking to see where the presentation is.
I switched it over to you, but I'll be happy to move the slides if you want to
Please.
switch back to me.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Thank you.
Can you
Okay,
all of that?
let me see. Okay, got it. You're good. Okay. Wonderful. Now what we're doing is we're doing the third stage is we're linking you up with resources that you can do yourself, that you can access for yourself, and those support systems. And sometimes we don't recognize what those support systems would be. First and foremost, you are your best support system. Start with a smile. You'd be surprised. And if you pair it with one of the breathing exercises that Dr. Mason just displayed, It's just freeing, okay? So we want to make sure that we acknowledge that stress is manageable. You can do this, okay? Some folks use humor to trigger as a prompt. Some just begin with a smile. And some of the ways in which both Dr. Mason and I have basically excavated out and identified certain support strategies. One is ideas to add some happiness using a gratitude journal. Start each day with 3 things that you're grateful for. I'm grateful for my breath in the morning. I'm grateful for my fur baby that looks at me and smiles every day. I'm grateful for my boyfriend who I know loves me and I love him back. Okay. Some of the other ways in which we want to add some happiness, if we want to go to that bullet, is recognizing who you are and how you move through and your importance. You are important, you are valued, and you are accepted. Somebody asked a while back, you know, I'm afraid to ask for help. Does that mean that I'm weak? No. If you ask for help, asking for help, support, assistance, guidance, and resources adds to your strength, okay? You are important, remember that. Gratitude, we're talking about feeling grateful for each day, at least 3 things that you can think of each day. Art, oh, let's go to, okay, gratitude. I'm grateful that Dr. Mason is taking the steering wheel of this, okay? And again, I'm grateful for laughter, right? I'm human, hear me roar, okay? All right, have an art night. Those of you, I know one person in particular on this call, Elizabeth Matthews. If you have not seen some of the artworks that she's created, it's phenomenal. What she's created as far as watercolors and pictures and drawings. So being creative releases your mind to focus on something else. You won't be stuck in that mindset that typically occurs from the time you stop with working each day and then begin your nighttime or your home routine. Be creative, find your outlet, find your niche. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Creek. I want to say too, you don't have to be a fabulous artist. I think there's a reason why those adult coloring books are so popular, because when you're doing that,
Absolutely.
You're having fun, yeah, but you can't focus on other things. It's really difficult for your brain to think about 2 things at the same time. We give a lot of credence to multitasking, but we're not the most productive when we do that. So when you're painting, doing coloring books or whatever, you really can't think about a lot of stressful things. So it gives your brain a huge break. But also, again, I like to paint rocks. So I'm not a Picasso or a Monet, but I love to paint rocks. It is very distracting to me. It's very meditative and fun. And, you know, I give them away, and you would be surprised how people react when they find just a painted rock, you know. So that kind of makes me feel happy too when I see other people enjoying that so much. So just wanted to add.
Agreed. And if your art or creativity isn't color to paper, sometimes it's actually doing something. I sing, so that's my creativity, and that is definitely my outlet and my stress reliever. With music comes dancing. Have a dance party. Shake it out, shake it off, like Taylor Swift says, okay? There are virtual Zoom, virtual parties, virtual dance parties, virtual happy hours with or without libations that people have engaged in. I know coming up, you know, we've got football season. I have to get it in. Go Noles. And basically, there's plenty of reasons to celebrate. We need to look for those reasons and engage and interact with folks. Okay, next slide.
Okay, you know, we're gonna go through the bubbles again.
Yes.
These are
We're reinforcing what's in those bubbles. Okay. So the conclusion, there's resources. I know that there's 50 ways to take a break. There's going to be a handout that we show you. And some of the ways that are noted on here, calling a friend, buying some flowers. You don't have to necessarily buy flowers for somebody else, but buy them for yourself. View some art, take in other people's creativity, okay? Pet a furry creature, your fur babies. I know a lot of you on this call, and perhaps a lot of you who will be watching this as a video broadcast, you have fur babies at home. Hug them. It releases those good feelings, those good neurotransmitters and biochemicals in you. Turn off the electronics. Have a tech-free dinner. I realize there's times where we have to be connected, but there's also times where we can rationally detach and unplug, and that's helpful and healthy. Meander around your town, go see some of the things that you might not have necessarily seen before. I have a couple of friends who go on the Sunday Fun Day stroll, and basically they map out at least 5 to 10 different places around the area that they have not been before. And just that sense of new discovery, again, is a distraction technique and helps reduce that stress and anxiety. Write in a journal. It's going to be very interesting to look back on 2020. And I use the word interesting because there are strengths that we can reflect upon. You know, you don't know how strong you are until you are brought into and called upon in a crisis. And I, for one, am very proud to be among you because I've seen such brilliant acts of strength from all of you. And whether you are working directly with our consumers that we serve, or whether you're in a leadership position, you breed and can cultivate that strength and share that strength. Create your own coffee break. I was so happy to see one of our folks here at the office who's very well known for the 2 o'clock coffee break. And although due to COVID contingencies, we may not be sharing those coffee breaks, but just creating that memory and linking his presence in with that memory, it made me smile when I saw him this morning. Some of the other resources, 10 ways to be your best self, be kind, find the goodness in others, recognize that each person progresses through grief and loss at their own time and on their own timetable. Just be kind and be supportive. Live in the moment. There's a picture from a meme that I saw recently where this older lady is standing in front of a crowd of obviously and observably a younger group of folks. And she doesn't have a phone in her hand. She's just staring out, looking at whatever it is that captured everybody's attention, whether it's a football game, a concert, somebody coming off of an airplane. Instead of capturing the moment here, capture the moment here. Capture the moment here. That stays with you a lot longer. Okay. And some of the other resources, there's a wonderful, wonderful resource through Soul Bird Consulting, where it takes you through mindfulness exercises and resiliency. There's been a lot of talk about building resiliency from the ground up. It begins with all of you. You are the resiliency. All of the areas, regions, departments, and positions of leadership that you possess and exhibit every day is how we will cultivate and build our resiliency as an agency. And now I'm going to tag Dr. Mason back in so she can talk a little bit about the resources that she has, and we will share those with you. Dr. Mason?
Yeah, the resources that I provided are simply instructions about doing the diaphragmatic breathing. Again, I hope you enjoyed the presentation and you're able just to relax and think about things in a little bit different way. There are also some really handy exercise worksheets that you can use for yourself or with your family to help incorporate a little bit of mindfulness into your life. And you can feel free to copy those and share them. There's one in particular I think that your kids, if you have children, they might enjoy. So I hope that you will use these techniques not only for yourself, but share them with your family and friends. And I do think, and there's a quote in here that we didn't get to, but it's by Albert Einstein, and he said, "In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity." It's one of my favorite quotes, and I know that this is very difficult for everyone, but I have seen ways in which people have rebounded and done things differently, and I hope that when all of this is over, that we can say we were somehow better for it in some ways, at least, that we learned new ways of doing things and connecting with other people. And I hope and I pray and I do believe that we're going to get through this difficulty and we'll be better for it. So I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with all of you and welcome any questions that you may have regarding today or any resources that we provided.
I did have one other resource that I wanted to just acknowledge. There is a 2-page Coping with Stress and Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder, or PTSD, handout that you all will be receiving. That is also looping in our resource through our EAP, or Employee Assistance Program, and that's KeyPro. And on there it has PTSD self-intervention strategies, and also where to go and how to access services and supports in the event you recognize that you need a little more support and intervention. So that is going to be made available to you as well. All right, so I guess what we can do is open it up for questions or Q&A or comments. Okay. Hearing none, seeing none. Director Palmer, would you like to make a closing statement before we exit?
Yes, first of all, thank you very much. The breathing alone has calmed me, so I appreciate that. And also, you know, the idea of doing some art or something that takes your mind off of all of the stresses of the day is so important. And that's one of the things, believe it or not, I've started doing is a little sewing, which when I was in high school, physical education was my thing. You know, I went to all physical education classes. Well, I didn't take enough of the other classes. So they made me my senior year, second semester, I had to take sewing. And of course, you know, your senior year, who's in the sewing classes, they're all the ones that are the best, you know. And here I am sewing an A-frame, you know, skirt. And I sewed my finger in the sewing machine. I mean, it was terrible. But over time, it has served me well. I mean, I make little things like pot holders and things like that I can make. I don't make clothes, but it has certainly helped me because I focus on doing something different and also doing something because I'm making gifts for people. So it's something that I can do that brings me joy. And so there are, you know what, it takes self-discipline. I mean, I don't care what you say. It's really hard to get yourself up and change what you're doing. You know you're stressed. You know these things are going on, but changing what you're doing is so important. If you don't make a change when you know you're stressed out, you will continue to be stressed out, and you can actually work yourself into burnout. So it's very important that these skills that they've talked about, that you try them. Just try. Don't discard this. This is really important information. So thank you both so very much, and I look forward to getting all these resources. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Director. And with that, not seeing or hearing any other questions or comments, with that, we wish that you have a great day, and coping with stress, go, do it. You can do it. You've got this. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great day. Thank you, Dr. Mason.
Thank you, Dr. Karenko. Yes, everyone have a wonderful day.
Thank you.